What is up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the MPC podcast. I'm your host, you already know, Michael Canelo. And today we're going to be talking about my Raiders, man. What has gone wrong? What has gone right? Mostly not right. So let's get into it. But this weekend, play the Eagles. We're going to see how that goes because we might have a chance to win. And it might be because how the Eagles are playing right now. I don't know whose offense is worse, ours or theirs. They should win this game, but we are starting Kenny Pickett. And we are going into this game with a little bit more rhythm, I'll say, on offense, because if you guys seen last week when Kenny Pickett came in, he was able to move around the pocket, get things going one way. If it's not there, go the other way. Improvise, get out of the pocket. Boom! He found Cedric Jackson. Ooh, that was a good shot right there, later for TD. And then what got people really mad was that last drive the Raiders had, and they scored that field goal. Who knows? Maybe Vegas is being Vegas. Who knows? But yeah, let's get into it. So coming into the season, we had high expectations. We did not see this coming. Right now we're 2-11. We did not see this coming. Many of us were high on Pete Carroll, first of all, coming in, have that veteran coach, that veteran presence, and it's just not been what we expected in that part. Then we did not only trade for Geno Smith, third round pick, we extended him, it wasn't a bad contract. It's like similar to Derek Carr. It was a 3 year, but could move on after this year, but you can owe some money. And Geno Smith just paid the big bucks. Yep, we did. It just hasn't worked out, man. For whatever reason, the offensive line, Chip Kelly, which was another guy that we brought in, which personally I do not like him as a coach, just all the other reasons. And when I say this is because when players play for a certain coach and they let you know about that certain coach, what happens in the building what nobody sees, it just goes to tell. And it's just not one player, two players. It's a lot of players that played for this coach. And the same thing goes back to Josh McDaniels, the way they're talking about him when the Rangers brought him in. And look how that turned out. That's why I did not like this Chip Kelly hire. There's back and forth now. She said, he said, she said type of deal going on. Was this Pete Carroll's team? Was this Chip Kelly's offense? Did he have our authority? Who brought in Chip Kelly? Who didn't like Chip Kelly? Pete Carroll didn't want Kelly. The front office, Tom Brady, Spytek wanted Kelly. Who knows what's going on? And that's the biggest thing, I think, why our season went downhill. From the top to the bottom, we didn't have no stability there. We didn't come to agreement about who's controlling this, who's controlling that. And that's no good when you already have an organization that's trying to create that stability, and then you come to this and you guys are not on the same page, and then that's what I really think's going on, and that's why our season has been the way it is. We improved our offense at the quarterback position coming into the season. The way you look at it, we did improve. Geno Smith was an upgrade from what we had last season. The play, not so much. Our running back, we got improved. Chanty took him in the sixth overall pick. I still think that was the right choice. Some people were calling for the New York Jets, I believe it's tackle, we should have took. But I still agree, Janty, because knowing us, you let Janty go to a team that actually has a good line, a good offensive play caller, uses his abilities to the best of that team or even his, and then he's having a way better season than what he's showing right now for the Raiders. But the biggest thing for the offense was the offensive line. JPJ should have been the center starting off the season. I don't know what happened. Pete Carroll, like I said, Chip Kelly, he said, she said. This guy was playing for a starting role on an offensive line that was not good. And he's your best offensive line. That just goes to show what the heck was going on between Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, and then one of his sons actually runs the offensive line. Like, it was ridiculous. And then our best signing on the offense line, Alex Kappa, which when we signed him, I thought he was going to be the backup veteran, but to call it an upgrade of our offensive line from last year was no. I thought he was just going to be the backup, but they treated this guy like he was going to come in and be a starter. Like, that's not upgrading your offensive line. So I don't know if John Spytek, Pete Carroll, Brendan Carroll, who knows who made that decision. And then at the wide receiver position, we had Jacoby Myers, which I think Jacoby Myers is a number one wide receiver in this league. People could argue that he's not. Maybe he's a B or two at the very best. But Jacoby Myers is a number one wide receiver in this league. He shows up, he does what he does, he doesn't cause no drama. A season ago, he had his best season for the Raiders, passed 1,000 yards for the first time, 0 drops. You know how many times you go throughout the week and you see receivers drop passes that, cost them the game? Jacoby Myers is that pro's pro. He requested a trade before the season started after they didn't want to give him an extension. I mean, many people believe that he was getting or asking for this 330 million plus deal that we seen Ayuk get, we seen Chase get, CeeDee Lamb get. No, all those numbers were just people saying, and this said, she said, like I said before, Pete Carroll, John Spytek didn't want to re-sign this guy. Could sign of 20, 25 million, man, and have a number one wide receiver, not just for this year, next year, and what you're building towards to go with those young guys that you drafted, you know? Now he's in Jacksonville. Look at what he has done. He's taken that offense to a whole other level. He's been playing good, and he's just gonna keep getting better. And another thing is, we could have traded him before the season. Second round pick they're offering. I believe it was the Niners. Second round pick, man. This is what the Raiders continue to do. When you have a chance to sign a player or trade him, they always hold on to the last minute and make the wrong decision. Seen it with Derek Carr. Could have got at least a first round pick. If not, move off him. Same thing, Josh Jacobs. Trade him. Get a pick from him. Let him walk free. Jacoby Myers now. He let him walk for, I believe, fourth and six. Come on, man. Second round, third round pick for him. You know? It just shows you dysfunction that's going on with this organization. So throughout the year, couldn't get nothing going on offense. I believe Chip Kelly was out the window or out the door a long time ago before they even came to the agreement of he was gonna be gone, And you just see the outlining of this was not gonna be good. Let's say once you started JPJ and moved them to the right guard position. Jordan Meredith at the center. Come on now. Week after week getting blown up. You could see the film, the play. Doesn't take a genius. And you still wouldn't make those adjustments. So, like, what the heck was going on? Chip Kelly really has that ego still about a kid. Literally still a kid. It's only his second year. Jackson Powers Johnson. Because we've seen it before, whether in Oregon with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the UCLA Bruins. That's why the Niners moved on so fast off him. Just think about it. I believe when he was in Eagles, he moved out LaShawn McCoy, the LaShawn McCoy at that moment when he was probably the best running back in the National Football League, or at least one of the best. He moved on Deshaun Jackson, when he was still at the top of his game. Like, there should have been signs there. Because this ain't college. NFL is a whole different level. Those years in Oregon, he was good, but you have the best talent almost at every position. Same thing with Ohio State. That's how they won the national championship. Yes, he took that offense to another level, but as we know, they produce the best receivers. They have a great line, good running game, good quarterback, you know? And the NFL, especially when he was coming to the Raiders, you had Geno Smith. You have um Brock Bowers. Yes, you had Jacoby Myers. On paper, you know, Smith was supposed to come in and do something with that, you know. But when you have offensive line, you're moving pieces around, not putting the right players in order. And then on top of that, your veteran quarterback turning the ball over constantly every single time almost the team is out there on the field, can't move the ball. You don't have the best players. It's gonna show. And clearly it did. Clearly it did. And that's why he's out the door, you know. And now we come to this point where we're well, I won't say benching. Geno Smith, I believe, well, if I looked at the numbers correctly, his contract, I don't know if it is $6 or $8 million more if he ends the season hurt or injured, I should say. So I don't think we're gonna see him back. There's been rumors going on that his family had reached out to sources that he doesn't want to be a Raider, and all the incidents that going on with the fans. You don't do that, man. I don't care if the fans are in the wrong or in the right. Head down, run into the tunnel, boom, there. But to do that, those gestures to the fans, and this is just the ones that not only just the one that they caught on camera. I hear from the Raider Nation about all these other things that have not come out yet. But Geno Smith is Geno Smith. And this nation is deep and loyal, and there's no other fan base like the Raider Nation, and they stick together, man. And they'll call you out on your what's to say BS. And Geno Smith, man, for all the hype you brought to us before even the season starts, yelling at a flag football game, they pay you the big bucks, and he hasn't performed like that or hasn't done well. And then week after week, he goes up to the podium and just says what he says, like the biggest one, blame me, blame Geno Smith. Like, come on, man. You're a veteran. You should know better than that. But I think that relationship with the fans gone a long time ago. And he just, we shouldn't bring him back next year. And I don't believe he's going to come back. As much as I don't like changing the head coach, as we've been constantly over the last 20 plus years, and especially since we became to Vegas, Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, this hasn't worked out, man. And I don't see it changing. Just like I gave Geno Smith, I believe it was 5 weeks, and I kept seeing the same thing. And they say, oh, let him get better. Let the season get deeper. 7, 8, ninth week. I said, after 5, I already seen enough. They should have pulled them, put Kenny Pickett in. Once O'Connell came back, they should have threw him in. But it's just the relationship he has with Pete Carroll, Geno Smith. It just couldn't, they're gonna protect each other. And, they had their time in Seattle, but this is different. This is the Raiders. They haven't won in a long time. The fans expect to put you in a position where they come out and spend their hard-earned money, which they did in the first couple weeks, but you had nothing to show for. And then on top of that, you're calling out the fans? What? Like, you see your play, right? You see this team? You got to go to Vegas, spend all that hard-earned money for this team to show up week after week and give you absolutely nothing. That's that was crazy. And then this past week, Pete Carroll calling out the fans because he didn't like all the Denver fans over there. Come on, Pete Carroll, you must know. Come on, you put a good product on the field, the fans will come. But you gotta understand, Raider Nation's been frustrated for years already, years, and this is probably the worst. Let me think. Yeah, the worst season since they moved to Vegas. Yeah, I'm saying that even worse than the McDaniels era in Las Vegas. Yeah, that's a tough thing to say, but it's true. It's true. And now, as we go in to week 15, we're playing the Eagles, and you finally, well, he's hurt, so you move Kenny Pickett. But I believe Geno Smith's not going to play again because he wants that money on the contract that he's guaranteed if he's hurt. And to even suggest that Geno Smith is faking an injury, like, I hope that's not true, because I don't like seeing players get hurt. That's the last thing. It could be the team I don't like rooting for or the team I dislike the most. That's the number one thing I never root for is players getting hurt. But just to throw that out there, that it's out there that Geno Smith, from reports and sources, that he's faking an injury. Come on, man. It shouldn't even come down to that, you know? But we go into week 15. We're playing the Eagles. As much as I don't like when teams bring up tanking this and that, but we got to land that quarterback, and right now we're in line for the number one pick, If we lose out, we're guaranteed the number one pick. We're slated at number two going into this game. But man, I feel like we're gonna win this game. And as much as probably I want to be happy that the Raiders are gonna finally end their losing streak, man. But at what cost? We've seen it before where we win these meaningless games at the end of the year and cost us draft position, and we're just out of the reach for that top quarterback that we wanted. I remember when Pierce wanted Daniels, too far out of reach. Even when Stroud and Young were in the draft, so out of reach. And then the only really time we had a choice was last year, and we didn't take Shador Sanders, which I thought we should have took. But like I said again, Carroll Smith protecting. Carroll didn't want that competition, I guess. And we had more than one chance to select them. And look what he's doing now. He's what I say, his little sample size. It looks like the real deal, guys. But we go into Philly. Hopefully Philadelphia comes out of their funk. I know Cowboy fans can be cheering for the Raiders probably for the first time in their life or some in ever because they need the Eagles to lose. I think Kenny Pickett's gonna show what he got, and he gives that better chance because it's gonna be cold, but he's used to that environment, which I think if Geno Smith would have went there, it would have been a whole different story. We're not even close to winning this game, but now we have a chance to win this game. And like I said, I hope we don't. We want that number one pick and that top quarterback, which is Indiana's Fernando Mendoza. But we're gonna see a lot of stuff this weekend. I think I just texted someone, one of my close Raider personnel people. I think Gentry's gonna have his best game just because the Eagles have been allowing yards on the ground. They're gonna be without Jalen Carter, and the Raiders, the offensive line playing better. They put in that rookie, Caleb Rogers, which should have been done a long time ago. Just one of the few things you just go back and look like, come on, man. Maybe Charles Grant's better than the starters right now, and we haven't even threw him out there. But yeah, I think Genty's gonna have his game this year. I mean, his best game this year in Week 15. But I really hope we don't win, man. Like I said. But then coming to the offseason, say we do get that number one pick, we got options. It's clear that we need a quarterback, and people don't want it to select one just because what happened to Marcus Russell, which that's a long time ago, and you can't just do that just because one time it didn't work out. Look at all the first round picks we did have, and they still haven't worked out, even in the Gruden era. So why not take it on another court? If it doesn't work out, we're used to that. We don't want it, but we're used to. So what? We go find another quarterback, the one that we've been searching for since Derek Carr left. So it doesn't matter. You get that number one pick, you take a quarterback. And there's going to be options for one quarterback. If you guys heard, is, sounding like he wants to retire. And that's Cincinnati's Joe Burrow, man. Joe Burrow. He wants to retire. That's crazy. I don't think he will, but he's going to be on the move. And can the Raiders offer him something? Yes. Do I believe he's going to leave for Las Vegas or the Bengals? The Raiders have the best package to give the Bengals? No. I believe if Matthew Stafford retires, the Rams, they have 2 first-round picks next year, and they could throw in that third one. They hit Cincinnati up, and yes, I do believe Joe Burrow could go to the Rams. Will we get a shot? We'll send that offer, but no, we're probably not going to land them. So that's why you got it, Fernando Mendoza. But let's talk about the offseason now. Transition. Say the season's over. Let's pretend the season's over. We get the first-round pick. We end up 2-15, and what should I do with Pete Carroll? If I'm the GM, or not even the GM, if I'm Mark Davis, thank you for your time. Thank you. I'm gonna pay you just like I'm paying other coaches that are not here anymore. Boom, out the door. This is another option that could happen. All right, you sit down. If they want to bring Carroll back, which could happen, I don't think it's gonna happen, but could. But you got to have that meeting with Tom Brady, Mark Davis, John Spytek, and the rest of the people Mark Davis has around his circle making these decisions. Sit down and you got to talk. All right, who's going to control this? or you can have control of that. Is Spike gonna have full control, or what's gonna happen? To me, the Raiders have to. They brought Tom Brady brought in this guy. You gotta let him do his thing, you know. Let the GM do GM stuff, players picks, bring in a coach that's gonna, if Carroll gets gone, bring in a coach that he could select his quarterback at number one. But if Carroll stays, you gotta come to an agreement about who's this, that, who's gonna have decisional personnel. And right now, it's just all over the place. Carroll's probably not having it. Spytek probably didn't have it in the draft or the free agency. Who knows? But if you have this cycle again, it's not gonna work out, man. But this is what I'll do if I was making decisions. Sorry, Pete Carroll, legendary coach, but you're gone, man. Just can't have it. Just can't have it. Clint Kubiak, bring him in. I think was he what he did in Seattle. What's he doing in Seattle right now? What he did with their car in that little time when they were out there putting up points, and he's coming off from a tree of you know his dad, that new offense that is getting run in the NFL. Call him up, send him offer. We'll let you have the number one choice. We'll let you have your quarterback, and the details will work out. He's going to control the offense. Whatever the team does, John Spike controls what players he's going to draft. His scouting do his thing along with Tom Brady, and then I believe Patrick Graham will be gone. If he wants to eventually get that head coaching position, he's gonna go to a team that doesn't have dysfunction like the Raiders do, or else he's never gonna get looked at as being a top head coach candidate. So I believe he's gone. We could bring in, or we could have Robbie Leonard. I think Robbie Leonard is a good coach, just to have that chemistry there. He is our defensive line coach right now, and I believe run game coordinator. Elevate him, and then you have right there offense and defense set up right there. And you see what you do with the other coaches. Who you bring in. Do we go draft Mendoza if that's Kubiak's guy? And then we fix the offensive line, man. I think this is going to be the three guys that are set next year. Miller at left tackle. JPJ, whether it's at center or guard. But if you put him at guard, then you have to sign a top free agent center. And then Rodgers, man, this little sample size, he's a starter, man. And these next few games, maybe he develops, he gets another real training camp under his belt, and could keep going. And then who knows what you have in Charles Grant? Who knows? Maybe he's Caleb Rogers or even better. And fix the offensive line. Go get yourself another good number one wide receiver, or even a borderline number one to a wide receiver number two, and pair up with Besh, Bowers, and Thornton. Then on the defensive side, you have Max Crosby, and then you beef up the linebacker position. Maybe go get a young safety. And who knows, man? Come next year, we probably won't compete, win more games. Offense looks better. But then you have that quarterback probably going to sit. That's what Tom Brady and probably a lot of people around Kubiak say are in line right there. They want the quarterback to sit a year at least to learn. And that's fine. Go through growing pains, see what Kenny Pickett has. Maybe he shows something these last few games, bring him back. If not, we have O'Connell, which I still think he should get a shot. You know, he got a good sample size, I believe 17 starts, but it's just been dysfunction. So it's not a fair shot. And sometimes that comes with playing with the Raiders. But yeah, that's what I will do. Fix the Raiders, man. Fix the Raiders. And then you come to 2027. That's when you unleash your rookie that you drafted in 2026. And that's the real year that the Raiders will see what we take off, you know? But this notion of bringing back Pete Carroll, as much as I like Pete Carroll, Patriots, Jets, USC, Seattle, it just hasn't worked out, man. And it sucks to say that we're going to go through another process of hiring another coach, but it is what it is to fix the Raiders. And another interesting thing is a lot of people have brought up John Gruden and Derek Carr potentially coming back, but as much as I love those guys, watched DC since I was growing up, high school, college, with my beloved Raiders. John Gruden, when I was that young Raider fan, born, Chucky, and then that second stint, yeah, he gets fired up, this and that. I just think it's not the right move. Maybe bring him in offense coordinator if you decide to go defensive head coach route. You know, okay, makes sense. And then DC can't. He's not gonna come. You still got to trade the Saints something for him. Doesn't make sense. Love you, DC. But yeah, we'll see how the rest of the season goes, and we're gonna see what happens with these Raiders moving forward. But right now, we're in line for the first overall pick. Raiders don't mess it up. All right, scary, scary times, and maybe this will bring a little bit of fans back just because they're gonna want to watch the game for them to see what position we end up picking next year. But we all want that number one overall pick. But this weekend we might win. So it's scary, scary times right now. But I'll do it. Thanks you guys. Thanks for you guys for watching, and let me know what you guys want to hear. God bless. Have a nice day.